All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jazz Guitar Hour at UIS. I'm Jose Gobo. I will be here for the next hour or so talking about jazz guitar, and everything related. Feel free to send comments if you want. I'm doing this every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. And if you have topics that you want me to cover, they're more than welcome. If not, I don't have much of a structure. I'm just gonna come here, basically practice, like mention things that I have practiced in the past that have helped me, and show you things that I have been working on. So the first episode of this thing was last week. I talked, among other things, the basic theme was the blues. I played the blues in F, played the blues in F sharp. So today I'm gonna do a similar thing with rhythm changes. In case you're not aware of what that is, um, it's basically the chord structure that George Gershwin used for his composition "I Got Rhythm." If you're not familiar, I got rhythm. I'm not a singer. I got rhythm. Who could ask for anything more? If you so it's a chord structure that have been used by jazz musicians over time, over and over again, and it became really recurrent during the 40s, the bebop era. So people like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, they wrote countless tunes. We should be able to play it in every key, and I will play over a few and talk about a few different keys. But the key of B flat, it's like the standard, and it's progression 1 6 2 5 1. So 1 6 dominant, 2 5 1 6 2 5. Then a 2 5 1 to the 4. Then there are many options. That's a topic right here. Different options to what to do here. One of them is just go to E diminished, and then what was that? That was the B flat, but I just made a little pedal over the 5. F is a pedal, then a G7 over F, then F sus, F7. So that was the first A. The form structure is AABA. So this is the A section. I'll do the same thing again. 1 6 2 5. 1 6 2 5. I made it dominant now. 2 5 2. You hear it. And then the bridge. It goes to D7, then G7, then to C7, then F7. And then the last A, same thing. Okay, so that's the basic structure. And then there are thousands of different variations that we can do over it. And I'll just see, I'll definitely follow the script because there's no script, and that's what I'm going to follow. So we could be talking about rhythm changes for years. I'll cover as much as I can today, and I'm happy to come back to it if anybody have questions about it. So let's see. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just play a little bit and talk about ideas that come up. And I remember one idea that I mentioned last week that I think it's cool, and I will do it. It's to present you with a pattern, just a melodic pattern, something that I have been working on during that day. Today's something that I worked on. Um, let's see. Using the, I tend to practice when I just as a way to warm up, to practice you thinking of the melodic minor scale. It's just you can practice however you want. So one pattern that I like, that I have been working on for a long time, like just let's say F melodic minor scale, to just play 4 notes. Basically I'm playing all the arpeggios, go on one ascending, and then the next arpeggio would be coming down. So that's the sound. If you like that, you can come back, and there are many different ways to explain, to think about this specifically one. we can think that we're like playing just F. This is F melodic minor, right? We're skipping one note, skipping another one. We skip going up, skipping a note 3 times, and then doing the same thing, starting on the second note of the scale. Skip one, skip one, skip one. Then on the third note, I did the second one descending, didn't I? Cool sound, isn't it? So that's something you can do to warm up your fingers and your brain and the coordination between. Do that like as I mentioned, F melodic minor right now, in as many places as possible. Uh, so yeah, that was the pattern of the day. Let's dive into the subject. Rhythm changes. I'm going to play in 3 different keys. I'm going to play in B flat first, and then I'm going to modulate to F sharp or G flat and play the whole thing again, and then modulate to D and play the whole thing. So 3 choruses, and I always do. I could rely on play alongs, but I don't even know if it's legal, like to pull up another play along. It doesn't really matter. I would just what I like to do is to record myself accompanying, recording the accompany, and then solo over the accompaniment that I recorded, because then I can practice. I can see if my comping is comfortable. I can practice being an accompanist, and I can use the thing as that I just recorded as a play along. I think that's a fantastic idea. And first take no metronome, and I'll explain also one little different idea of ways to use the metronome. So recording 3 choruses of rhythm changes in the keys of B flat, F sharp, and D. I may do 2 choruses if it feels good. Let's see, of the whole thing. Okay, recording. Here we go. So rhythm changes. That was just the accompaniment. 3 choruses: B flat, F sharp, and D. Why? It could be any. This, if you want to stretch a little bit, it may be related with Coltrane's matrix of that's what he does on giant steps, using three keys that are separated by whole tone, by not whole tones, by major thirds. So the first key here, I actually this one's descending, right? The way I did B flat first, and then F sharp, and then D. Sure, it just sounds good. You're playing the whole thing in B flat. You kind of you don't have to be tired of B flat, but it sounds fresh. Goes to F sharp. Now I'm gonna improvise over those chords, and of course, there's already 1,000 topics popping in my head. Um, if you have questions, if we find anything, just jump in the comments. If not, that's okay. Let's see here. Soft. Just one time is enough. So just playing along. The rhythm changes progression in those three keys: B flat, uh, F sharp, and D. I think it's easy for not only guitar players, every instrument. To There are so many tunes in the key of B flat. If you want to develop your repertoire, a couple I can mention a couple like Moose the Mooch, Charlie Parker. Uh, what else that is in B flat? There's Anthropology, also Charlie Parker. There's Sonny Rollins' Oleo. There is Thelonious Monk's. This is like jam session tunes, the tunes that a lot of people play in. No, the Thelonious Monk tune, Rhythmaning. Don't ask me how to spell that. I don't even know. Also same structure, and then there's countless tunes that use the exact same chord progression. One that I can think of that it's traditionally playing, it was composed in a different key. It was "This Is Atmosphere." Uh, I just googled it. I think it's Dizzy Gillespie's composition, and and this one it was composed in the key of A flat. Pretty simple melody. And then doesn't that has a different bridge? I think. some it could be. I think this is right. I could be mixing it up with the bridge of the Eternal Triangle. You
Mhm.
know, they both have a similar concept. Oh, let's go back to this atmosphere. What they do here, it's when it gets to the bridge, instead of being two bars for each chord, as in the progression that I showed you first, they do instead of starting if we're playing the key of A flat, the first chord of the bridge would be C7. But what they do here, they actually go to D7. So we finish the whole thing. Bridge. And then two bars, half step down, and then one bar for each chord. One bar, one bar. Make sense? I hope so. And I think that there is the same. You can check out the Eternal Triangle. And this is atmosphere. I think they use the same structure, but mostly the bridge goes to the goes a major third. If you're in B flat, yeah, the root chord is a major third above the chord that is that of the first chord, and it's a cycle of dominant chords. D7 goes to G7, it goes to C7, it goes to F7. Okay, now let me just talk about it in the key of B flat for a little bit. That's the one that probably most of you are already familiar with. Um, I highly recommend you check out. There's a video. I don't know if you can find it online anymore. I hope you can. It's just Joe Pass talking about rhythm changes. And I remember when the first time that I saw it, it was the first time that I saw a guitar player. It was a VHS thing a long time ago. The first, I didn't know it was possible to play chords and walk a bass line at the same time, like that. He did it better. But I remember that's the thing that really stuck me. And then he talked about the chord substitutions that you can use over the same progression. And so the progression originally was just a 2 1 6 2 5 1. So one, the six, it's minor. 1 6 2 5 1. So the first alteration that you can do is to make the six dominant. I'm making altered here. See, you can hear those little voice leading on the top notes. Always good to be chasing those, melodies that make sense on your all over the guitar. So I made the six dominant, and then the way Joe Pass talks about it, he explains how to that you can actually play every chord dominant. He goes one by one. I'm just gonna skip ahead and like show like instead of C minor, you can play C7 if you want, and then F7. And then you can also apply the concept of triton substitutions. So what are triton substitutions? So you have a G7. Instead of playing G7, you play D flat 7. It's called triton substitution because see the triton here on the G7, the D flat is using the same triton. Basically, it creates the same type of tension that would resolve here. So that leads to I don't need to go into details about the theory behind it, like the classical explanation for why does the triton sub works. But the thing is, the important thing to for right now is since the second chord is the G7, before a G7 you can play, so you can start your progression instead of starting in B flat, you can start here in A flat. Sounds pretty cool, right? I remember I did it. I think it was when I was playing the key of D. and I did this thing, so I'm glad that I remembered and that I mentioned now. So instead of playing one, see, now with the substitution. And well, there's so many substitutions that you can do on this thing. Instead of starting on the bridge, instead of starting on the three dominant, instead of starting on the D7, you can actually, since it's a five, you can put a two before the five. So you hear you and in the progression, bridge, five, two, five, two, five, two, five. Right? So it changes the colors a little bit. Instead of going straight to the D7, put a little A minor before. It's not gonna hurt anybody, and you can apply the same. Now it starts to sound a little bit more, a little bit. It sounds like you're really adding different flavors. If you combine this thing of adding the two with using a tritone sub. So let's talk about the bridge a little bit. That's where dominant chords are the ones that are really open for substitutions the most. It's really, I mean, it's a dominant chord. It's meant to create tension. So if you use, it's okay to just use different flavors. We're here, D7. So instead of going to G, you can use a tritone sub. So the whole bridge will be chromatically like this. D flat, C. Then instead of F, you play B. Back to the progression. Make sense? So it started here on D, and it came down chromatically just by thinking of the tritone sub. Now, if you use the same thing that I just said, going down chromatically, but using using two fives instead of only the five, so the bridge will sound like this. All right. Now, still talking about dominant chords. Um, well, at first, if you're not very familiar with progressions and chord extensions, the best thing to get a nice sound without way too much. I mean, everything takes effort, so I'm not gonna say that's without effort. But just play the root. You're gonna get a full sound if you play the root, the third, and the seven of each chord. No, and then here though, there's an option instead of doing 1 6 2 5 1 again. The second time you can do 3 6 2 5 1 because the sound of the one it's very similar to the sound of the three. Uh, so just skimming through these concepts. Hope you're getting some out of it. Um, I was going to talk about extensions. Yeah, especially on the dominant chords. See here on the G, since it's going to a minor chord, if you make it altered, you see those. Now I'm putting the sharp 5 and the sharp 9, and both the sharp 5 and the sharp 9 of G, they belong to to a C minor chord. So if you make the G7 altered, you're kind of smoothing the like making the voice leading between G and C, like smooth. But you can do whatever you want. If you want to do, it might be a little bit shocking, but well, depending on who is using and when they're using. One thing that could sound good if you do like, oh, okay. So what was that? That little thing that I just did. there's a fancy name. There's a fancy name for every little simple thing that we do in jazz. I've heard people call it contiguous two fives. What the hell is that? So instead of just playing 2 5 1, you play, right? I guess it's easier showed than explained, right? You just play the whole thing that you just played twice as fast and play a half step up, like instead of doing one bar of two, one bar of five, and resolve. One, two, you play half step up twice as fast, and you can use this all over the place. And now it's gonna be could sound really frantic if you start doing that like this, like fail. Take two, a little slower. I was overdoing. I'll try to use it a little more musically. Um, so yeah, you have a couple of options of chord substitutions to play over your rhythm changes in B flat or transpose that to any key that you want. And one thing I should mention, I don't know if you're familiar with Dave Liebman's book, A Chromatic Approach to Jazz Improvisation. I find that book extremely interesting, and what I remember my take. I haven't checked in a while, but I remember that Dave Liebman, ridiculously great saxophone player, played with Miles Davis, Elvin Jones, everybody, educator. Um, so he talks about superimpositions that you can play when the piano player or the guitar player, the chord or instrument is playing one chord. You can superimpose a chord progression. So, for example, the simplest way, let's say. So there's a 2 5 1 here, going to B flat. Instead of playing over that, see that? You could play, think of the triton sub. But when the guys are playing that or the girls are playing that, you think F sharp minor to B7. So it's gonna like while the people are playing as the accompaniment, you can as a soloist you can do, you know. As a singer, I'm a great guitar player. So chord superimposition. So what I'm trying to get at, so and then he does many variations of that. He does going half step up, going half step down, and I think he goes literally through every key. And the conclusion of the whole thing, he shows examples from the literature, from Herbie Hancock doing it, from McCoy Tyner, from Coltrane, everybody. And the funny takeout of the, it's basically you can superimpose whatever you want over whatever you want. That's a little bit of a strong statement, but applying that to the rhythm changes though, it will make sense. And so maybe now it's time to introduce a little bit of, I'm gonna record myself again playing the chords, but now I'm gonna maybe twist the Dave Liebman idea a little bit into, because he really knows the sound that he's going for. You know, it's not random. I'm gonna go a little bit randomly, you know, just like playing over. That's the rhythm changes progression with these chords and the bridge as well. But I'm gonna introduce some somewhat. It's of course it's not random. It's stuff that I'm mostly hearing, and I kind of know how to resolve. But I'm gonna just take some chances, like open it up a little bit, harmonically. So since I'm talking about harmony today, I'm not gonna even use the metronome for now. Let's just try. I will, if there's time, we'll see. I wanted to just talk about like a couple of different. Last week, I remember I only used the metronome on the four. Today, I want to talk about a little bit of a different approach. So, just recording a couple of chords of rhythm changes in B flat, but using more of a modal approach. Modal slash random chords. Let's see. Yeah, this chords. Oh, that was not recorded, but I was gonna say I'm getting really good at recording 2 minutes stints. That was exactly 2 minutes as the other one. For some reason, that didn't record, which is okay, because I remember most of the a couple of substitutions that I used, and I can talk about them. Let me. Maybe my phone is getting full. Fine. Well, I said random. I was using random pero no mucho progressions. What do I mean by that? Like just sometimes I heard one time Herbie Hancock saying that he sometimes let his brain do the work, sometimes his heart, and sometimes his fingers. Really nice harmonies, Jose. Mr. Brown, former roommate, good to see you. Although I don't see you. Yeah, right on. Nice harmonies. Not they're not mine. Um, but Herbie Hancock, the concept of like sometimes letting your brain, sometimes letting your heart, sometimes letting your fingers. So with the finger thing, like I was doing, sometimes just this movement of just go moving up in minor thirds. So the thing is, if it has a sense of, if you start, if it has a little bit of logic behind it, usually it's gonna work. So that's what I'm saying. If you do, so what is this one right now? It makes perfect sense because I started with a D minor, which basically sounds like a B flat, and then I went up. Doesn't really matter. Just oops, F7, just a different sound. B flat seven, just a different sound. B, and then in the end, it makes sense because the B, like, although I played it minor, I resolved the half step up, the bass movement. So what I'm trying to say is like I'm going somewhat randomly, but either my fingers or my heart or my brain or my ears will find a way to resolve So let me see if I remember a couple. Oh, first, I think I did one that I started. I just, yeah, if you go chromatically down, I I started with Jimi Hendrix. It fits the form, doesn't it? uh you can say no if you want, but I'm not gonna hear. So, and well, I'm gonna try recording again and see, because it's fun to try to in my case, I'm recording, so I kind of sometimes I do remember what I just played. But when you're playing with other people, you can use that, like try different. It's better than sometimes. Some people prefer to know exactly what the other person are playing, but a little surprise will not hurt you. You know. I'm gonna try recording again. If it doesn't record, then that's fine. Um, since I mentioned, I will introduce the metronome thing that I said. So just different ideas. You can do whatever you want with the metronome. You can. One way that I like practicing is just as a challenge to add like a little element. I'm gonna put it on 30 BPMs, and what I'm gonna put it in a way that's the metronome is gonna click on the two and on the four of the next bar. So it's gonna be like one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four. So just a little challenge. The point is, um, there's like this Brazilian guitar player. His name is Nelson Veras. You can Google YouTube Nelson Veras Amsterdam. There's a master class if it's still there. You never know with YouTube, things come and go. And he does some crazy things. You put in the like in every using some groupings of 5, 8 notes. It's really really interesting. This one is not quite that crazy. It's based since it's going on the two of one bar and on the four of the other one, it's every 6 beats. So check it out. There you go. A little faster. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The point is, if you are keeping good time, it's gonna fit. Let's see. All right, this time it was recorded, and I did mess up the tempo a little bit, which is which is great. You know, I'm no perfect, but I'm going to try to improvise over that anyways. And so yeah, I tried to. I don't know. It was probably half kind of nuts harmony and half really inside. When I was trying to bring in, it was too much for my little brain to try to think of crazy harmonies and keep the metronome thing at the same time. I need to go back to. That's something that I used to work on a lot to try this metronome different groupings, and now I'm starting to get back to it. So uh, yeah, let's see if I can follow my own crazy changes here. Oops, it starts to record again, which is not what I want. All right, not 1 second. Andy Brown, what are you working on? What's happening? Are you in Chicago town? Drop some topics. What are you? I think I know you're doing some lap guitar, right? Steel guitar stuff. Good stuff. Uh, so let's see if I can follow these changes here. Oh, all right. Oh, this last thing that's easy to track down, the harmony here. Which what I did was I just moved. I mentioned the movement of the minor chord in minor thirds, but the one that I just did was in using the whole tone scale, moving in. See, if it has some whatever you play, if it has some logic, even if you don't know the logic, you can play it and tell what it is later. Quoting Miles Davis. Um, but this one here, I play B flat, just coming down on the whole tone scale forever till the end of times. But keeping track of the form, So let's see how it goes. Going up like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not the one that I did. I'll do coming down 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It fits. So and I of course you can change. You don't have to. There's no. You don't have to. If you started something, you can change it halfway. Which what I wanted to do right now. Or once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make it chromatic, just to make it fit wherever you want to land. Uh, okay, so if you're getting up, so Andy, you're working on Freight Train. I just played a string from a club in the Rose Bowl in Urbana. I played the guitarist Mark Tonelli, and we did play that song. So I don't know the if you guys are familiar with Freight Train. That's the changes of Blues for Alice, but in the key of A flat. So it fits the concept. Though I started talking about playing rhythm changes in different keys. So I'm gonna blow over that thing a little bit, and let's see if now I can fix my timing problem. If I can play over this thing that I set up myself for failure, right? It works. It could happen to you, and it happened to me. So let's try the changes of freight train. So going off topic as a freight train. There's no topic. So yeah, tell your friends to join this thing every Wednesday, 6 p.m. I'll send topic recommendation, whatever you're working on, or yeah, anything. It's very good that this is through the University of Illinois Springfield, because I can't just go completely bananas and say, and I have to keep my um a little. I have to be a little bit polite. So which is good. But this lamp here, it was probably not a good idea. We're experimenting and learning. So 30 BPM. Here you go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. not able to capture. B S. The rhythm was a little bit better, right? I think I just went off track a little bit in the end, but it's a great tune. Freight Train. Let's see. So I try to apply a couple of as I do lie in life sometimes, but only when necessary. I don't lie in vain. And I have no reason to lie when I said that though you can apply those substitutions to other tunes. So, and I try to show a little bit of that. Freight Train, A flat, 2-5 to F minor, 5, blah blah blah, goes to the 4. It's kind of like a blues. I said the structure of blues for Alice, which is a Charlie Parker tune. This one is by Kenny Burrell, and he recorded the only guitar player ever in history of humanity to record with John Coltrane. It's Kenny Burrell, and they recorded that tune. So yeah, I'll do something a little bit more fun. Well, I'll keep the metronome and just play without a recording, alternating chords and lines. Alrighty. So yeah, one thing about let's see how my computer time is not. It's a little behind. Weird. Um, one cool thing about this type of tune, though, especially as I think every instrument, but as guitar player, it's very when you get to it's the progression does when it gets here to the 4, and then it's the contiguous 2-5 idea. What's the first thing that we tend to do as guitar players? Like to play the same line. What I'm trying to say is when you get to the 4, which is probably it could happen if you hear that's the similar progression on of Coltrane's Moment's Notice. It's a similar movement, and Lee Morgan is playing. If you really, he does a lot of it. Of but he's Lee Morgan. He can do whatever he wants. If we can avoid this type of thing, just be careful with how we use. Like it could sound very mechanic if you every time you get to the four, you do like, you know it would be like slightly hipper maybe to do like change the rhythm. But one thing that I like, that I think I grew as a musician trying to work on, is to make those type of changes, to keep as I'm not doing with my speech right now, to keep it linear. So if you like keep the same, for example, not the best that I could do, not the worst that I could do. So makes sense. So maybe a good exercise for this is just to play like the scales. C, B minor, again, minor, C minor, B minor, and landing in B flat minor. Kind of like that. I'll do a couple more chords now without the match. No. All right, cool. Freight train, and let's call it be an hour. It's been cool. Let's see. Thanks, Andy, for interacting here. That helps a lot to see there's a human soul uh, accompanying. And yeah, I'll be here every Wednesday, come rain or come shine. And thanks for tuning in. Hasta la vista. Bye bye.